Welcome to Talk Shop. I'm Ariel, Okin, a New York-based interior designer, writer, and editor looking to bring a little bit of magic into our homes every day. After years as a writer and editor in the interiors world, I founded my own editorial site, Fenimore Lane, in 2020, and the Talk Shop interview series was born. Each week, I delve into the personal experiences of the top interior designers and tastemakers around the globe.
Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all. I am Grace Beuley-Hun. I'm Luxe Interiors and Design's home and design editor, and I'm so happy to be hosting today's panel on color with a few amazing experts on the subject. If anyone has a painting project like my new friends in the front row, this is the place to be. So today we're going to be talking about palette and gathering inspiration from them, and what better venue between these gardens and the amazing interiors that are not at all color shy. It's definitely a lesson being here unto itself. So thank you so much to our friends at the Mayflower for hosting us, to our amazing friends at Farrow Ball for sponsoring today's chat, and to Fenimore Lane for creating this incredible day for all of us to enjoy. And of course, thank you to our panelists. So joining us, we have Annie Meyers-Shyer, founder of the beloved interior design sensation, This Oak House. We have Ariel, Okin, interior designer, editor-in-chief of Fenimore Lane, and host of the Talk Shop Design podcast. And Joa Studholme, Farrow Ball's color curator and the author of Farrow Ball titles, including Recipes for Decorating and How to Decorate. So rather than me going through their bios, I'm going to have them do it themselves. So please, ladies, one by one, say who you are, where you're from, what you do. And I made a slip and asked everybody who, what, where in our preliminary calls, and they thought it meant their outfits. So you also have to say what you're wearing today. Annie, let's start with you.
Okay, hi, I'm Annie Meyers-Shyer. I'm from Los Angeles, and I am renovating my first home in Beverly Hills. And it's been an unbelievable journey so far. I'm not adding 1 inch of square footage to my house, and I'm 2 years into the project. So it's been a thing. But I'm in the middle of a really big learning in my life, and it's been really fun, and I'm chronicling the journey on my Instagram. And I'm really happy to be here. And I am wearing Addersea, and I'm just happy to be here.
I'm loving the return of the vest, by the way. Yeah. It's good. It's a good thing.
I am Ariel, Okin. I am an interior designer. I'm the editor-in-chief and founder of Fenimore Lane, which put this weekend on. And I'm just really, really thrilled to be here and just honored to have these amazing women on this panel with me. And what am I wearing? I'm wearing a turtleneck top and totem pants.
What about the shoes?
9 West.
Oh my God.
Swear to God.
So good.
I found them on ShopMy.
And Joa.
Hi, I'm Joa, and I work for Farrow Ball. I'm their colour curator, which means I make their colours and name their colours for my sins. And I've worked with Farrow Ball for 28 years, which is quite scary. And I hope that you're kind of aware of the brand, but it's slightly less well known in America than it is in England. And I started the first showroom, and as Grace said, I've written a few books about colour, and I'm just very happy to be here sharing it all with you. And I am wearing a dress from India, which has a no label, and much to Annie's absolute horror, I'm wearing Birkenstocks. Because she went and took hers off and left me wearing mine.
Birkenstocks, and I love Joa.
Perfect. Well, we'll all be breaking out the Birkenstocks for the garden portion of today. Yes. So just to situate us a little more, I'd love if you could each share about color and what it means in your day-to-day, what you think makes you an expert in it. And I have to start with Ariel because Ariel was actually just dubbed a color star by Better Homes and Gardens magazine like a few days ago. So let's hear it.
Thank you. I mean, we use color in so many different ways in our projects, and I think it all starts for us with our clients and how they like to live and the inspiration that they bring to us, because we really want all of our projects to feel extremely personal to them. When I'm talking about color in my own home, I typically gravitate, as you can tell over this weekend, to blue and green and white. I like colors that are inspired by nature and colors that feel like soothing, because I really always want my home to feel like an escape and something that's very relaxing to come home to at the end of the day. But I think layering color and also the way that neutrals can be tone on tone and play with each other is one of the most fascinating things about what I get to do. So I love it.
She sounds like an expert.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Annie, how about you? What does color do for you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think color's helping me tell the story of my house, what I want the rooms to feel like. You know, I thought a lot about how I want the rooms to move from one to another. So my bedroom is a soothing space in light greens and yellows and neutrals. And then I have two boys who are 8 and 10, and their rooms are joyous and bright. And you would never walk into their rooms and think an adult lived in there. I mean, they're going to be very red and blues and yellows. And I have a kind of a dark room. We're calling it the Snug. And that room is moody. And so I just think color really helps me sort of define what the spaces are going to be. And then the rest of my house is sort of neutral, which just I think will help, you know, let me layer in whatever I want as we go. But I think color's the energy in a house, the story of a house. At least it is for our house.
I love that. So it's kind of like a neutral canvas, and then you have these like special colorful spaces leading off that.
I hope. That's what I'm aiming for, yeah.
Awesome. And Joa, I know color is a big part of your day. So
It's a very, very big part of my day. And I really believe that colour makes a huge, huge difference. I really think it's good for the soul, actually. And it can soothe you, or it can excite you, it can make you smile. So I am immersed, as I say, every day with colour. When I'm not creating new colours, I'm often in other people's homes. I'm helping them choose colours for their own homes as well, colour consultancy service, which we have here as well. And rather scarily, somebody worked out that I probably decorate 3,500 rooms a year. And I've done it for 28 years. So that's a very scary amount. But I was talking to Annie earlier, and my big thing is about giving kind of hints and tips about how to use colour and being generous. And I think the three of us probably share this same thing, that Ariel likes to share, you know, all the beautiful things she has on her website, and Annie shares all her sources, and I am determined to share as much about the use of colour as I possibly can.
well, I'm glad you're here today. So I gave everybody a homework assignment. I think the whole point of today is to get inspired by all this beauty. And I asked everybody to bring in what is inspiring them in terms of color these days. And everybody gets an A+ with their with their physical materials here. So let's go down the line. Annie, please tell us about your color inspiration and why you're vibing off of it right now.
So I packed in a carry-on from Los Angeles. So this project and homework assignment was challenging for me. But the room that I mentioned before, which I called the Snug, I'm working with an interior designer, but I've really schemed the rooms myself. And I love the color green, and I knew I wanted green in this room. And since I'm not an interior designer, what I found as I was doing the scheme was I just kept putting green in the room. Like I couldn't figure out how to make it more than that. And I have a bulletin board that I sit in front of at my desk, and I looked up and I had a postcard of a painting that I loved. So it's by Ramon Casas, and it's called A Decadent Woman. And I'm sure it's called that because she's just laying down. But I love this painting, and I thought about the use of color in this painting, and I brought some fabrics that I'm using in that room, and I thought I would show you how I let this painting sort of inform my decision. So,
and this is the Snug.
This is the Snug. Okay. So this is my sofa fabric, this Claremont that I brought.
It's beautiful.
I have a chair and ottoman in the same room. I'm using this beautiful sort of rose tarlo fabric. And then I have this, which is sort of representative of the book, that's also in the room.
It's really pretty.
So the lesson that I sort of took away here is, I'm not an expert. But what I do know is I know what's pleasing to my eye. And so I loved this painting. I loved the colors in it.
The whole mood is very snug.
It's very snug, right? This is going to be me in the snug when the project's over. But what I really feel is that if something is pleasing to your eye in nature or in a painting, you can make that happen in a room. If you're looking at a lake and there's a blue sky and an orange boat and it has a yellow flag on it or whatever it is, if that looks good to you, there's a way to bring that into your room. And so I love this painting and I'll always think of it when I come into this room. I'm sorry, it's makeshift, but it was the inspiration for me and I hope it works out. We'll see.
What color did you choose on your walls?
Well, I need to talk to Joa, but so far it's stony ground, which is a Farrow Ball color. But the reason I've chosen that color is because the room is open to another room. And so I have to make sure that it doesn't just become it has to work in the room next to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so stony ground, is a really beautiful. How would you describe it?
Well, it's in there. It's a neutral, which has a very, very little amount of red in its ground. So it has a warmth to it. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's stony.
Yes.
Oh, I can get it out and show you.
Yeah, it's stony. And
we have a paint chip.
And the whole room is paneled with a built-in sofa. And so the sofa will be the green. And this is my girl. That's it.
I think it's really great to remember that. It sounds simple, but just picking an image you really love, a piece of art, can inform the whole palette of your space.
For sure. And
there's stony ground.
I felt like it was the background color of my fabric.
It's also like the highlight color.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Annie.
Thank you.
I love that.
Ariel, let's move down to you. What do you have for show and tell today?
I wish I had physical samples. This is so
It's
A+.
so fun.
I love it. I screenshotted this is my personal Instagram saves. So this is always a barometer of what I'm gravitating toward.
Maybe we can pass these things around.
Yeah, we can pass them around for sure. Right now, I was actually just talking about this with Annie, but I'm finding myself gravitating towards simpler palettes lately. Just a quieter sort of really sagey greens and a blushy pink and just really nice creamy whites. And then a ticking stripe is in here. And then I also have an unidentifiable man in a really well rolled up white button down. Things,
Such a
I
good
just think
look.
it's a vibe. But this is sort of my personal barometer for what I am inspired by at that moment in time. And right now I think I'm interested in paring things back a little bit. We're known for a deft use of color, so we love colorful interiors, but we also, our base palette is always generally neutral, and then we layer in color in the way of textiles or Suzanni's or, a layering rug over a sisal, things like that. So, yeah, I'm excited. I can pass this around.
Where do you think that need for clean is coming from? Have you been doing a lot of color recently, and this is kind of an antidote?
No, I think it's in my personal life. I think because my kids are getting bigger and their stuff is just everywhere. I'm looking for less visual noise in my house because I have so much, there's puzzle pieces on the floor and there's Legos. And so I think
just dreaming of cleanliness.
Yes, basically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Ariel, and we'll send around her grid.
Yeah.
And Joa, what did you bring in for us? You have a whole chair for your show and tell, so.
I know, just little bits and pieces. Well, I love colour. Obviously, I love colour. But at the moment, the thing I'm really interested in is how to use colour. And I think that all the rules seem to have gone out of the window. So painting your walls from the top of your baseboards to your ceiling, you don't need to do that. You can use colour in a million different ways. So I just got 3 examples here, which are quite full of colour, or you might not approve. But one of the things I do a lot is if you have a reveal to a different room, is to paint this little detail here in green, so you can see, so that it just creates a little moment, a little memory in your house. Or, as I was saying, you don't need to take the colour all the way up the wall. I will often stop the colour halfway
That's
or
fun.
3/4 of the way up the wall. And you can see here it's actually taken over the door as well. So it's just creating a
wow.
kind of really interesting little space, probably far too much colour for you guys. But the other thing is that I play with finishes a lot. So in this particular house, we have got gloss and dead flat on the same wall, just kind of cutting through, and it just creates that little bit of sort of sparkle at the bottom of the room, and also super durable because the gloss, if you're bashing suitcases against it, and it just creates something kind of really interesting. And the same comes to with wallpaper. You don't necessarily just use it on the walls. We're putting wallpaper on the ceiling a lot. And you'll
So
see that all the
cozy.
way through this hotel. You'll see wallpapers on the ceiling.
Where's that? Which hotel is that?
Oh, no, in this hotel.
in this
I
hotel.
said. No,
like,
this
this is
is
private
not in a
home.
hotel. This is in a house. We're using one of our new pan-on papers, which I'll tell you about. But yes, the use of gloss is my really thing I absolutely love more than anything. Bella wants me to show you brush outboards here. I'll do is on the same wall, is just do the bottom half of the wall in gloss and the top in a flat, and it just creates something really magical. You often don't notice it to start with, and then you go, wow, what's that? It's
I
just
imagine
really,
it's so impactful when the light is coming in.
but it's subtle but impactful as well.
Wow, love that. I'd like to see that in real time. To go paint something later. Okay, so I basically have a targeted question for each of you, and then one for all of you, and then we're going to do some rapid fire. So, Ariel, my question for you is actually talking more about kind of what Annie was getting at, which is where does it all begin? So, as a professional designer and a color star, no less, when you are dealing with a palette, like, where do you start? I know it's probably different client to client, but in general, do you have a process for approaching a palette when you are starting from scratch?
Yes. So the way that we handle new projects is we ask every client to send us at least 10 images that are really speaking to them and what they want their home to feel like. And we start there, and then we turn those into a creative brief where we pull imagery and mood boards for every single room in the house before we even start sourcing. And in that creative brief meeting, it's a really great way for us to get an information download where we can make sure that we know which images the clients are responding to the most and which palettes they really are gravitating toward. And one of our clients is here today in the back. And it's really helpful for us because it lets us know like what palette to hone in on, and also how are the rooms being used as well, because I think that's really important in terms of finish for color and in terms of, how is this all going to work in terms of how you're actually living in your home, because I think that's the most important thing. So it really for us always starts with the client because we want our projects to feel as personal and tied into who they are as possible.
And then once you have your colors, like how do you make it come together? Like I've made so many mistakes. This is why I'm in neutrals and live in a white house, because it's like it's harder than you think. I've like made a lot of mistakes. Like how do you make it not match but come together?
I think
is there a trick you can share?
Comfortable taking risks, because I think color is so personal that it has to feel good to you, and anybody could be like, oh, I think that clashes or that's not for me. And I think if it feels personal to you and feels good for your home, then that's what should be your sort of like guiding North Star. When we do our fabric pulls, we basically take like 3 days. We go to the D&D, we go to 200 Luxe, we go to James showroom, we get all of our samples. This would overwhelm so many people. We throw them like on our big scheming table in the office, and I just sort of like play with them for hours. And that's sort of that's how we do it.
Oh, I like that.
It's
so just
really
get
fun.
all the physical colors and just like
we get
actually play
everything,
with
and
them.
we go room by room, and then we narrow it down and we get them onto like acrylic trays for the clients. And then I also, when I'm scheming, I'm looking at the floor plan. Like we start with the floor plan before we do textiles and finishes. So I think you need to start with the floor plan so that you know what the room is going to look like and how it's going to flow. And then you can get into your textiles and your color and your pattern. And that helps me envision, okay, where's this, I like this pattern, but where is it going to live? And when you see the floor plan, it helps you envision it in your mind before, you could think that a really great block print would be great on a huge wide scale sofa, but it actually in practice might not.
Absolutely. I love that. So hire Ariel, or if you want to mimic it and feel like a designer, like get your samples all together, get an acrylic tray for each room, and like pretend you're Ariel. Okay. So Joa, I'd like to go down to you, and we have to ask about color because it's just like you own that word, and Farrow Ball's colors are just so distinct. I just feel like they really are so like above and beyond, to be honest. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about the color philosophy of Farrow Ball and your brand DNA and what makes it different.
Well, I mean, it's a company we've been making paint for 75 years. I haven't been there for 75 years, but feels like it sometimes. And we've really got kind of heritage running through our veins, and we're very proud of our historic roots. But obviously, when we're making colours, we're very conscious that they should fit in the contemporary home at the same time. And we've always kept a very tight palette, curated palette. We only have 132 colours at any time on that card. So it's really trying to help you to not have a million things to look at. And we only make new colours when we feel the need. We're not saying we have to bring out new colours every 2 years or whatever, but when we feel that a colour needs to be shared with the world, that's when we do it. So we're not sort of trend-based in any way. When it comes to making colours, it's very lo-fi. I sit at my kitchen table with a whole load of ramekins and teaspoons and just mix colours. And, people imagine that it should be done in a sort of laboratory, but it really is literally done. When my kids were little, they were there stirring away, or I would pay them to clean the ramekins as well. We'll probably do. As far as the names are concerned, sometimes it's kind of like say what you see. So this is setting plaster. And I made this colour because somebody painted over a plaster wall, which I wanted to keep. And so it just looks like setting plaster. But then sometimes you have something like, this is called Stooky Blue. It spells STIFFKEY. And it's a very Farrow Ball thing that you pronounce things differently to how they're spelt. But this was it's a beach in Norfolk in the north of England, and my kids used to play there, and it has strange mud, and they would come out and their feet and hands would be this colour. So that was why I named this, I took the inspiration. The inspiration came from the mud.
So the names are very personal to you often.
No, not me particularly, but sometimes they are. That one is. Or my sort of classic. Sometimes the colour comes first. This is a colour called Wevet, and you're probably all thinking, but it's just white. In fact, it has a little tiny bit of grey in it, very special colour. And when I was making it, I kept on saying, I wanted something which you could see straight through. You weren't kind of aware of the colour. It was so easy to live with. And so then we tried to think of what equated to that, and Wevet means spider's web. So it is like the colour of a spider's web. So sometimes the inspiration comes first, sometimes the colour comes first. But we really consider our names. They're as important as the colours themselves.
Wonderful. I will never forget mole's breath. I got a chip of that in the mail. What? Oh yeah. So, are those inspired by what you're looking at?
Dead salmon has nothing to do with the fish.
Amazing. So Annie, I would like to talk about history and color with you because you are renovating this amazing historic home. And I mean, I think you mentioned you're kind of just diving into your paint journey. What are your thoughts? Are you looking to the past or are you really trying to bring in like a modern edge with your palette? Like, what's your direction and what have you learned so far?
Well, I'm definitely not trying to bring in a modern edge, I would say. I think that I'm looking to the house first to sort of inform the decision. So the house has a tremendous amount of interior architecture, wall paneling, details, wainscoting, and just a lot of millwork in the house. So I want that to be a star. So I'm very thoughtful about how I'm using sheen and color when it comes to those pieces. I also, in general, just stay away from trends. So we put in oak floors, and I worked tirelessly on the color and trying to see what would really be in this house if it was built today. And much to the dismay of my flooring guys, we did it many times. And when we got it, I just knew we had it. And it was interesting. When the stain was done, it was like we turned a construction site into a home. The color made it a home. And so I am definitely looking to the past in terms of what would really be here. And I also choose a lot of neutrals because I think it gives me flexibility. I have probably 4 sofas in the house. All but one are either neutral or white. And I have natural, like all my floor rugs are abacas, but then I can put something colorful over it, or I can put color in the pillows. And it gives me flexibility as my tastes evolve and change, that I can change those things. So I'm definitely looking to the past, but also trying to just have flexibility, because doing a house is a big deal and it costs a lot of money, and I don't want to have regret. And so, but I also want to walk into a room and feel inspired. So it's an interesting dance, but I think we've done it.
Amazing. So I'd like everybody to leave with a really meaty takeaway when it comes to painting, because painting is terrible sometimes. It's really hard. It's hard to get the right color. It's hard to physically do it. I can share my way of kind of addressing the best color, and I have to make a plug for a sister brand of our company. But like Samplies, they do these large format peel and sticks that are actually paint, which can be amazing. Like that's the one thing like that I really have found. Like I have to paint it on a wall. Paint the
I mean, this is real paint. So
yeah, it's
very
amazing.
useful.
And I would love if you could each share like your one go-to trick for getting the color right. Like, what's your process? Do you paint a bunch of boards? Do you come back in high sun, low sun?
I mean, the big thing is to sample colour and is to get it on the wall. Not if you buy a little pot, don't paint it on the wall, but paint it on something you can move it into different positions. Look at it in the evening and look at it during the day. If it's a room you only use at night, shut the curtains, light the candles. It will all make a really big difference. But the big thing for me is there are 3 things to think about. You look at your architecture and look at the light, but also choose colours that you feel comfortable with. Just because everybody's telling you have to use plaster pinks at the moment, perhaps that's not your thing. Just do something which you really feel comfortable with, and make a list at the beginning of all the ingredients you have in the room. So you've got the baseboards, you've got the walls, you've got maybe have crown moulding, you've got doors and architraves and anything you can paint, because those are like little ingredients in a recipe, and you've got to put the right colours on all of them to get the kind of the proper dish, as it were. So that's what I always do, is write a list.
Write a list of all the architectural features.
Yep.
And try them all. That's great advice. How about you, Ariel?
I think also look at the physical samples in connection with the rest of the textiles that will be in the room and the textures that will be in the room. So look at it with your carpet sample and the other fabric samples that are going in there. If you have metal finishes, or if you're using a powder coated light fixture, like get a sample of that, just to really make sure that everything works together and that the palette all talks to each other. I think that's important in terms of like having the physical samples with you.
And
So
also looking at things proportionally, I think really, really helps. Because if you're thinking, I'm going to, use this on the walls and this on the millwork, that's crazy, because you actually proportionally you have far less of one than the other, and that
Right.
really affects it, exactly as you're saying with the fabrics.
It's true.
So do not make paint decisions independent of other things. Like you have
No.
to be thinking about the full mix of texture. That's a good tip too. Annie, what's yours?
I have more than one. Okay, because I'm
Take
in
it away.
the middle of painting. So here are my tips. I would say make sure, once you narrow it down, paint on the texture that you're going to be painting. So if you're painting millwork, look at it on millwork. If you're going to be painting on drywall, look at it on drywall. I would also say if you have multiple samples, do not line them up. Look at them one by one.
Never.
Joe's like, absolutely
do
not.
not line them up, because one will start to read pink, and it's because of something else.
Yeah.
My painter did this thing where he would put blue tape on the wall and then paint the sample in the blue tape. Like rip that blue tape off, because
Yeah.
the blue tape will inform the color. Pull up that pink ram board. The things in the room will inform the color. So really try to look at it in the light it's really going to be in. Also, I think once you decide you love the color, get the right sheen. Don't pick the color, I'm going to use, a state emulsion, but really it's going to be modern emulsion. You got to see it in its real form. I know it's expensive to buy a gallon, but it's so much less expensive than redoing the room. I would also say do not color match. Your painter's going to be like, I love Sherwin-Williams and I want to use, okay, but don't color match because they won't get it. They're like, we do it all the time. Right. It doesn't matter. Do it all the time somewhere else. Don't do it. Just really, I think all the paint brands are amazing, but I wouldn't color match anything. My other tips would be, I like personally the ceiling to be a little bit lighter than the walls. I like the wall and the crown to be the same color. And a tip that I learned recently is you can just sort of take your wall color and divide it in half with white for your ceiling.
Pretty.
Or you could go 3/4 white, 1/4 your color. And the other tip I would have is, I'm literally I was working on a paint schedule this morning, so I'm in it. It's like when you have a baby, how you have all the tips, and then someone asks you about a nap, and you're like, I don't remember anything. So I have it all top of mind. But what I was going to say was, I think brushstrokes are important on wood. And if your painter gives you a hard time like mine did, we agree that he can roll the first coat, but I want to see the brushstrokes. It makes sense in my house. And so find out from your paint company, how will the paint dry? Will it set really quickly? Is it going to allow for the brushstrokes? Sort of have those conversations. And
to appease your painter, you can brush it on and then, so roll it on and then brush it off.
Totally.
Yeah. Or, even the last coat you can roll on and then you brush over it. So you might have to have two people. But
I think those are my tips.
So before we move on to our lightning round, I just want to get a sense of what's coming up next for each of you. Joa, I know we have some amazing new wallpapers. I know it's a big year for wallpaper at Farrow Ball. Just tell us what's coming down the pike, what we can watch for from you.
Well, we have creative director found this amazing chateau, 18th century chateau in the Loire in France, and discovered these loads and loads of patterns of wallpapers, which we have made. I can show you some of them here. Been interpreted in amazing colours. And the fantastic thing about Farrow Ball wallpaper is it's made from our paint. So you can always do a seamless scheme because you can always take the colour from the
beautiful
from the pattern.
Do that all the time with this, which is closet stripe.
That one, for instance, is with closet stripe.
You can do any color.
And this is Bancher, which has been used here. Or if you're doing something. See, I needed my table. Oh no, I've used that one already. Hold on. You could do something very, very neutral. Here, this is, I love this paper because when you walk away from it, you can barely see the pattern. It just becomes like not a flat wall anymore.
Super subtle.
And this paper was just found in a linen press. So it's been amazing. And Charlie, our creative director, have just reimagined each of them. And we've also gone into our archives and we've got new colorways of old papers coming as well, which is really, really exciting. So, it's our year for wallpaper. We can't wait. We've been making wallpaper for, a very long time. So our big push is this year.
So exciting. When can we actually see the images of it in context in this new chateau?
They launch in June.
Oh, amazing.
So very, very soon. Yep.
Fabulous. And what about you, Miss Ariel? What's next after Summit?
Oh my God. I don't know. I'm looking forward to relaxing this summer.
That sounds nice.
We're working on 8 projects all around the country right now. We have a big Cape Cod install in May. And then we have a big photo shoot in Oyster Bay in May. And then I'm really looking forward to taking a second to relax this summer.
I wish that for you. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Annie, what about you? We have paint coming up, but what are the other big house things?
Just moving. That's all I have on my docket. That's it. Moving.
Okay, then you have to share the one room you're the most excited about for your home.
Well, it's sort of a room. I'm most excited for the exterior of my house. It's part of the reason we moved. And living in Los Angeles is really about the indoor-outdoor living. And the whole back of my house opens to my backyard. And we're going to have a pool. And I just envision sort of enjoying that space outside.
Sounds dreamy.
If I ever get there.
Well, it's nice that I can say this is like a summer kickoff. Like everyone has nice, fun, beautiful things coming up. We love that. So to wrap things up, let's do some rapid fire Q&A. These only require one-word answers. We'll go down the line. Annie, what is the best room for an unexpected use of color?
Guest room.
Powder room.
Pantry.
Ooh. I'd love
Just
a
to make you
pantry.
smile.
Yeah. Love that.
People love all white kitchens, but it's actually a great place to use color. What is your favorite color to use in the kitchen?
Creamy white.
We do like to do a sagey green. Like lichen is a great Farrow Ball color for a kitchen. We just did.
Lichen in the kitchen?
Yeah, lichen in the kitchen. Love it. That's the editor.
Joa?
I like to do a pink gloss ceiling in the kitchen. It just gives that fabulous glow.
Yes. Pink makes everybody
Pink
look
ground.
really pretty too.
It does.
Color combination you are loving now.
Color combination, green and yellow.
Like that wallpaper.
Yeah, green and
Yeah.
yellow.
Pale blue and burgundy. Borrowed light is my favorite Farrow Ball color. My dining room ceiling is high gloss and borrowed light. It's my favorite color. But I love borrowed light. It's a really pretty like sky blue, gray blue. It's so pretty.
We're doing a whole color story for our fall issue on oxblood and ice. I feel like those colors are really
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
exactly-
That pale,
yes.
pale blue.
I just think it's such a pretty combination.
It's so beautiful. It
Yeah.
feels so fresh right now.
Yes.
And Joa, what's your color
Well,
combo
I'm
of the moment?
all over the clay tones at the moment. So, deep, dark reds and plaster colours, basically.
Beautiful.
Things which feel very warm.
If you could only use one color for the rest of your lives on your walls, what would it be, Annie?
Easy, slipper satin.
You stole mine.
No way.
I'll do something.
Wimborne white.
Okay, I would use Stir-About, which is a version of slipper satin. Well, it's slippers. It has exactly the same colour quality, but it is much warmer. It's got this lovely little bit of some red behind it, and it glows, and it's total heaven. And it's in my bedroom, which I will get back to in England tomorrow.
Can't wait. Okay, last but not least, and it doesn't have to be an exact paint color, but just a color in general. People have spirit animals. What is your spirit color?
Yellow.
Pale blue.
I have to go for fiery bamboozle.
Love it.
But I was tempted to talk about, say, dead salmon, but then it felt a bit sad that was my spirit animal.
No.
I just certainly, I think bamboozle, yeah.
Bamboozle?
Bamboozle.
Beautiful.
But I would only use it probably inside a closet or in a very sort of small amount.
Good in a pantry.
Good in a pantry. Yep.
Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you to our pros. Thank you guys so much for coming. We do have about 5 minutes if anybody has a question they want to ask.
So I have a 200-year-old colonial revival that needs lots of TLC, and the ceilings are not very high. I find myself wanting to paint everything the same color. And then I'm like, am I?
Yes.
Yeah. But then I'm like, am I doing this in every room? Like, when do you know when to have contrast with trim versus when to just, embrace the selvage?
Well, I mean, I think that it's so counterintuitive, but if you put the same colour on your ceiling as your walls, the ceiling height goes up.
Right.
Because you can't see where one stops and the other starts. And so it's like, oh no, I can't put colour on my ceiling. But you really, really don't notice it. And the ceiling height will just go up. And I think I personally would decorate room by room. I mean, I always am very conscious of a flow through a house, but you don't have to use the same trim colour through a house. I just would play to, the advantages of whatever that room is giving you, basically.
Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you to our amazing panelists. Thank you to the Mayflower and to Farrow Ball. Thank you guys. Enjoy the day.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of Talk Shop. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more thoughtful discussions and amazing guests. Make sure you follow on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify so you never miss an episode. And of course, follow me at Ariel Okin. See you next week.